Hello, it's me, Jean Harville, and I am the founder of Raising Kids Who Love to Read by Jean Harville, and also the creator of Helping Kids with Reading, as well as the Reading Community Academy. So, I just wanted to talk to you, and you notice my title is So That's What's Blocking Me from Connecting with My Child. The other title to this is Old School Thinking versus 21st Century Well-Being. So that second title kind of gives you a little more of a clue of what we're going to be talking about, right? Okay, hang on. This is a doozy, and some of you may, halfway through the video, may just shut me off because you're like, she doesn't know what she's talking about. But just hang with me just a little bit, okay? And if you agree with what I'm saying, just, hit the like button or love button, write in the comments, give me a comment below. So I just wanted to get an idea, I'm just putting this out there, and it may seem a little foreign or a little, I don't know, like an attack or something, but it's not. It is not at all. All right. So I'm coming with well-meaning, because what is really at stake is our kids' well-being, our kids' mental health. And so many of you who have come into the Raising Kids Who Love to Read have said their number one concern about your child's reading is the motivation, a lack of motivation, getting them to want to pick up a book to read. Watching your child go onto the screens and the devices, and we've talked about that. That's where they're getting the dopamine hits, which is getting them the motivation. They're not receiving motivation from internal. They're receiving their motivation from outward means, and that becomes a problem. So they're not internally motivated. It's almost like their lights are off. Have you ever looked at your child and he's just sort of sitting there mindlessly, and it's like, his lights are off. I need to turn on those lights to get that enthusiasm going right from the inside out. So what is it, what do we know, what's going on here, okay? So along the way that, our kids stop owning their learning. And no matter what is going on, you feel like it's an uphill battle, right? So they're not motivated to do their reading. They're not motivated to do their math or the spelling, heavens no. Not motivated to do the science experiment or do the homework or even to learn anything new outside of school. They're just not motivated because they need that extrinsic motivation that's coming in, which is what our devices do and our computers. They can sit mindlessly in front of those and get the dopamine hits like I just mentioned it. So what's going on here? Do you sometimes look at your child and they're just kind of lounging? Some of them are resting, which is rightly so, but sometimes they're just not doing anything, just like a zombie, like you're living with a house full of zombies, right? And so, we ask and we push, we punish, we maybe do a reward, if you do this, you'll get that. It's all extrinsic, right? Trying to get their lights turned on, trying to get your child to move and get up and do something and be responsible. So if we take a look at what we are doing, we're using those old school tactics that was used when we were growing up, right? So if you think back to when we were growing up, our parents would praise us, you got good grades, look at all your A's, B's, and C's, or A's and B's on your report card. We need to bring those C's up or something like that, and you would get this, pat on the back, and you're just like, great, you feel good, right? So in our brains, we have this wiring that's going on, and it's not your fault, and it's not your parents' fault at all. It's almost like a generational. It's just been brought up, and those thoughts have been hardwired into our brains from in childhood, when we were in childhood. What were the expectations? But also you have to remember that school back, 20, 30, 40, I'm not going to age myself, years ago looks different than it does now. And there were that time to go and play. There was that time to go and explore. There was that time, the life just a lot slower. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have social media where there's that competition, of looking the best, being the best at playing soccer. Did you see my video and how well I kicked that ball? And getting that extrinsic motivation or rewards or pats on the back, right? That you're doing great. So, one of the things that's really, really important is, like I mentioned earlier, is the child's mental well-being. And mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being, and it affects how we think, how we feel, and how we act. It also helps to determine how we handle stress, and it's related to how we make choices and how we interact with other people, right? So mental health is important at every stage of life, from childhood all the way from adolescence into adulthood. So now, I'm not telling you anything new. This is all in research. This has all been researched for decades, right? And we say that, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s was very different than the 80s and 90s, which is very different than the nows, the 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. And so we have to, because school has changed so much, that our kids' free play, our kids' PE, music, expression, art are being cut into just to get through those standards of the math and standards of the reading and standards of whatever else that we have to score and grade our schools on, and also to look really good, so that we push them through curriculum and push them through getting those, learning so much. It's all coming at them this way. No wonder our kids' lights are turned off. They're not internally motivated at all. They're not doing something that they are lit up about, right? That really turns them on. And so that social emotional connection is so important for our kids. And then when our kids do well, they're rewarded extrinsically. Oh, you get to have this sticker, or you get to have this mark on their chart or whatever. Oh, this is such a wonderful paper that you wrote. We're going to hang it in the hallway. And you're like, please don't hang my paper in the hallway, But if you notice when you're in the schools, you see all the kids' assignments, all, and I used to think, oh, that's really cool. They get to show off their good work. But what about the child who's not proud of their work? It's sitting out there, and that child's thinking, it's not good enough. I don't write as well as these other people in my classroom, and so that can bring up some problems there. So it's like they become disengaged. Now, if you notice that, I think the stats were maybe off a few percentages, but like 43, I've seen it differently, 43 or 45% of our fourth graders cannot read on fourth grade level. And our high school seniors who graduated, 65% of them cannot read on high school level. And that's really, really sad. And that is an indicator that our kids are turned off to wanting to learn to read. It's not that they can't read. They're turned off because everything's just push, push, push. You push through the curriculum, and they get this all extrinsic, like if you do well, you get an A or B or whatever, and it's all extrinsic. It is not coming from the internal child at all. So, when you talk about, they've talked about social media, all right? When you're on social media, you compete with those that are on social media. Well, you have to have the better story than the other person, or the better this, or the better, like I say, the better kick on the soccer ball. It's all posted there, and there's competition there. Computers, there's games, and especially if you're gaming with somebody else, you say, I'm not as good at this as they are, and they are better. But then there's the electronics and devices. So all of these actually have like a two-edged sword. They have, hey Christy, how are you? I'm glad you were watching. This reading is so great. Yes, definitely. So, it's like, it's a two-edged sword. So there's a good thing about the social media and the computers and electronics and devices. There's something really good about it, but there's also something not so good. There's a negative effect as well. And so studies have shown that our motivation in doing anything has changed from intrinsic to extrinsic, right? And basically over the past 50 years, we are motivated by others' judgment and rewards, like social media, the computer, the electronics, and the devices, not by our own sense of accomplishments. And so, we, meaning our kids and ourselves, in general, as a society, we operate on believing we have very little or no control over this fate. And this is where anxiety and depression creeps in, and the sense of helplessness comes in. Something terrible can happen to me at any time, and I'm unable to do anything about it. There's no use trying. I'm doomed. If you've ever felt like that, you're like, it doesn't really matter. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I have no control. And so that's what's kind of happening now with our society, and that our kids don't believe they have control. They don't have the mechanism to make things change. And so that's where our depression comes in. We see the lights off in our kids. They're just not engaged at all. And so it's like life is happening to me, not for me. So studies of this data say that this increase in external goals, which can cause anxiety and depression or mental unwellness, are all caused largely by the decline in opportunities for free play and the increased time and weight given to schooling. Did you hear that free play in there? Didn't we used to? I remember we had free play a lot when I was in school. And I also, as an introvert, I really didn't know exactly what to do with the free play, but I would find a group and I would integrate myself into that group. But free play allows our kids processing, or their thinking, their creativeness, to really engage and to get their lights on, because they're so excited. They're even if they're playing by themselves, they're in their zone or playing with somebody else, or they're building a fort, or they're doing something that they're excited about. They're making up a story about the city, about the citizens, and just all of this. They are in control of this thing that they are building and they're creating. It's internal. It's internally motivating for them. That's what's turning their lights on. That's their passion, right? So that we've lost that when we've taken away the free times of our kids, especially in school. But guess what, guys? Guess what? Moms, I should say. We're in a totally different area right now. This time of home education, this time of homeschooling. A lot of you are homeschooling a lot more than before. And then this time of hybrid. But even if your kids do go to brick and mortar, you still have opportunities when your kids are home, right? They are home. So give them that free time. Give them that time to be creative. Give them that time to, be able to play and invent, and give them that chance to be bring their like that inwardly motivated to play, and it's not for an extrinsic reward. It's what they would prefer is for you to be engaged with them. Tell me about what you're making. What is this, and what does this do? Have them talk to you. Have you ever had your child develop or make something and their eyes just light up and they just want to tell you? They just want to tell you everything about it. Oftentimes it's at an inconvenient time and you have something else you need to do, right? But if you take that time to just sit down with them and say, tell me about this, what is that? Really get them engaged, get them motivated, because then they're fired up, they're taking control of their learning, they're taking control of their play and their thoughts, and they are creating a sense of well-being within themselves, which is so important, right? So bringing ourselves from that old-time thinking of when we were younger and were brought up in school, and the messages that our parents gave us, and there's no fault in that at all, because when they were in school, they have messaging, and it goes far back generationally, right? So it's really no one's fault. But what we can do now is we as parents, we as moms can think about thoughts that come through our head. As soon as we see our child's report card, the first thought, oh man, they didn't make an A. Oh man, this is really not that good. I expected more. Stop. Just stop, right? And just say, well, wait a minute. Let me write those thoughts down, because that's something I need to explore, that I need to figure out, why are these negative thoughts coming across? Because I'm so glad I stopped myself and didn't say that to my child, because then you've taken them down like they're not good enough, right? And it will cause that feeling of not feeling good enough if you perpetuate what your old story when you were growing up was given to you, and now it's running in your brain, right? So these thoughts of, there's something wrong with my child is not working to the ability of the rest of the class. But guess what? Each child is unique. Each brain is unique. And so you have to, take a look at what your child can do. And right now, all these terms of neurodiversity, neurotypical, and whatever else is out there, and that kids think and learn differently. I like to use the word kids think and learn differently. Every child thinks and learns differently. And it doesn't matter that they have a label at all. It's just they think and learn differently. They are on their own path, and they will get wherever it is that they are supposed to get to. So not every child is to graduate summa cum laude from high school. It's okay. Every child was created to have their own path and their own vision. And if we as parents want to step in and take that vision away, then you have a child whose lights are off. You have a child who's not motivated anymore because they're not living up to your expectations. So like I said, this was going to be a really hard thing for me to be talking about, and some of you probably want to turn me off right now, but this is reality. This is the 21st century thinking that we need to evolve our schools, evolve our education system. And if you take a look around to other countries, and I have a post that's in the group right now talking about the way other countries handle grades, report cards or grading systems. And I think it was interesting that I know the schools in Vancouver in Canada, they do not, at the elementary level, do not even have grades at all. And they have a check sheet of skills for each grade level that the child needs to have or be proficient at to move to the next level. And so it gives you a better idea of like, oh, you just got an A. Well, what does that mean? I don't know, but it gives you a really good idea of what skills need to be worked on, need to be tweaked, or need to be, helped along, and so that they can progress to the next level. So I think it levels that playing field, what'd your kid get? My kid's got all straight A's, or whatever. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't really mean anything. And I know that this is our old thinking. Like, what do you mean, Jean? It's great that my kid gets straight A's. This is old thinking. This is thinking from way back when grades were used in that manner to sort kids out, to figure out this child is worthy of that. This child's going to be a doctor. This child's going to be, whatever. And I think when we can take that stigma out, and that we can treat all of our kids as equal, and that they just think and learn in a different way, and we tailor and we take a look at what's the best way that they think, we bring the passion out of these kids. The passion wells up of what it is that they want to do. And in their own thinking, that shift happens, that they can now can wrap around reading. Now you can wrap around. It makes sense to be able to read, right? Because maybe there is someone who is a gamer who likes to make games, like the electronic games, and create games. Well, they need to be able to read in order to write dialogue for their characters, in order to read the manual on how to create a game like this, right? There's a purpose and a reason for learning to read. Mathematics, maybe there's some, I'm not really good about this, but there's trajectory that has to be figured out, and there's a mathematical formula for that. There's a reason to learn that, right? And because of our digital citizens, which is what our kids are, they can access information like this. And there's so many times I'll hand my phone to my daughter and say, here, type this, type that, type exactly what I say. Now, look up this, look up that. Boom, boom, boom. She's got it. And I don't have to sit there and figure it out. Times tables, multiplication tables. Now, some of you are going to shoot me. Why do we have to memorize them? Why? We now have phones in our hands, right? We have calculators. If you don't have an electronic device, we have calculators. We have devices that can do boop, 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 boop. We've got the answer. And at some point, if we memorize them, awesome, that's great. But what is the purpose, right? And then what is the purpose of memorizing the chemical chart? We can look it up. We have that information. The thing that we need to be concentrating on is what is it, what do they stand for, and why is the chart important? But actually memorizing all those different, where they are in the chart and that sort of thing, And then also there's just so many other things that our education system is bringing from the old part. You have to learn this, you have to learn that, you have to, perform this way and that way. Bring it into the current digital age, bring it into our current thinking, our current 21st century thinking of where our kids are going. Some of our kids are great for college, that's great, and the profession that they are wanting to do and that they are created to do, great, it requires that. But what about those who have the entrepreneurial brain, who have that visual spatial field? Our kids who think and learn differently, that have that huge imagery that they can do. They can imagine and they can create, and they are amazing entrepreneurs. They can go through the entrepreneur route, whether it's online or brick and mortar. Chances are it's going to be online because of our digital age, right? They have the ability and the wherewithal to really think through processes and to create, and that is where they are, they light up, their lights turn on. So look and see, like it's hard to think about, well, Jean, wait, but we have to be graded by these standards. Yes, I understand that that's where we are right now, but wouldn't it be great if we could start a movement of really taking a look at our school system and really, see if we can change it? I'm not sure that we can because it's pretty stuck. But you know what? You, as a parent, have that time after school, or if you're homeschooling, or if you are doing the home education, you are in charge of your home, and you are in charge of putting these, helping your kids to find out what their passions are and to support that and to make relevant what it is that they're learning compared to their passion. You're gonna have more lights on kids that are excited about learning, that are motivated to pick up a book and read, because there's a purpose for it now. So I'll get off my soapbox, but if some of you are really curious about how to switch that old-timey thinking, when you brought out, and you're having a hard time seeing what I'm talking about and adjusting, and you're kind of stuck in those old thoughts, I'm going to put a link down below, and it's a link to my calendar, and I've opened up 4 slots. I think it's Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week, that if you want to call with me, I think I have Talk With Me. If you want to give me a call, and we can talk and chat and just get a sense of how you can start shifting your thinking so that you can be in the 21st century, be that 21st century mom, to really support your child, support their well-being. That is what is at stake, is our kids' well-being. And we want to keep for the anxiety and keep the depression and all those other challenges. You can read so much about that online that I don't need to go into that. But I think that in order to keep our kids motivated, to keep their lights on, and to keep them keep them well, have mental wellness, that's what we need to do. We need to take a look at as parents. So y'all have a great day, and if you want to do a little talk with me, I have a link down below, my QED scheduler, and there are 4 hours, 4 different slots that are open when starting tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. Take a look and see if you'd like to. You can click the link and it'll take you to the scheduler and schedule a time if you want to talk to me a little bit more. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's a free talk with me. So I'll talk to you guys later. All right. Bye-bye.